Thanks,
buddy.
Christian McCaffrey racked up almost 150 yards while scoring 2 touchdowns last night in a win over the Colts. He's got 8 on the ground, 7 in the air. But does he have a spot on Brou's ballot?
I hope so.
Let's find out.
He is indeed having a great year. He is in strong consideration. I'm old school, though.
We know.
Right?
Yeah. Not old, but
I
old
remember
school.
the days, Coach, when running backs were running backs.
He doesn't care
doesn't
about
like
his receiving.
And Marshall Faulk, I get it all. I want you running off tackle.
Yep. Tote the rock.
And I want 4.5 yards per carry or more. It's hard for me to give the guy an MVP vote when it's 3.7 yards a carry. I get it. He's been great catching the ball in the backfield, all that. I'm old school. He was in consideration, though. So was Caleb.
Wow.
And look, I don't think this guy should win the MVP, or that would be a travesty. But when you get down this low at number 5, it's just a recognition.
Wow!
His numbers are getting
What a moment!
And I kind of had to go. He's an 89 passer rating, Coach.
Passer rating's an overrated stat.
He's balling. All right,
Leave it.
He is. What do I got in
got
here
14
to justify this?
17
touchdowns in his last 5 games.
Yeah.
All right, so, and he's 3rd in the league in total touchdowns with 33. 26 passing, 7 rushing.
Rushing.
Again, it would be a travesty if we won the MVP, but a vote, some votes.
And he had some outstanding throws.
Yeah, he's
legitimately.
And they're shocking.
Yeah.
You did pick him. Did you pick him to win the division?
Of course.
Of course. But no, they're having a great year.
Yeah.
Can I ask you this
ahead.
question? Because you're saying, so you think it's on the board that for the 2nd time in Trevor's career, he finishes in the top 7 in the MVP voting? Because that would be pretty good.
I had trouble filling out 5. 7, I have no idea who else was on that ballot.
2 top 7 finishes. 1,600 players in the
10
league.
years from now, Nick will be saying, people said he didn't start his career off with 2
top 7 finishes.
MVP.
Exactly. What a good point.
That is correct.
All right, number 4, Wilds. I know you hate this. Look, I thought about taking him off because it's been a slow for him because he's got 4 sacks in the last 4 games, which isn't bad. That's great, right? That's 17 for a season.
22 on the nose.
Yeah, he's right.
Pretty good.
All right, I just thought he was going to destroy the record and get 26 or something like that. We'll see what he does. But anyway, he needs 1 more to break the record that's held for 20 years, Michael Strahan, TJ Watt. So he's number 4. And then the top 3, look, he just didn't do anything. Josh Allen, number 3. He didn't do anything last week.
Fall out, man. He should fall back.
Okay, I want, when we're done, because look, Drake's 2. Drake is just 2. Stafford's so far ahead at this point. Drake was phenomenal last week, obviously. But Stafford's 40 touchdowns.
Phenomenal.
His career high is 41.
Drake had a phenomenal finish to the game.
Well, the finish. Yeah. And he almost threw for 400 yards.
Coach does not.
Stafford
His father's wild.
is the only. Jared Goff's second with 32 touchdowns. Stafford's got 40. So that's how far out he is in front of everybody. But, okay, you don't like Josh Allen at 3. Who, like I said, after the top 2, and then it's kind of like who you putting there?
That's a good question.
Christian McCaffrey.
Probably. Yeah, maybe.
At 3? Look, I joke about his yards per attempt, but McCaffrey has had a great season.
My question,
I think it's more eye test with him.
But it's eye test, and what do we attribute? If they end up being the 1 seed, which they could be, and they are already 11-4, what do we attribute it to? Like what players? Like Shanahan obviously has done a great job. The defense has been ravaged by injury. They've played 2 different quarterbacks. Brandon Ayuk quit the team. Kittle missed time. It would be that he has been the engine behind it, would be the argument.
But to Brou's point, it is hard when you see a running back averaging 3.7 yards a carry. Now, the receptions are really impressive, and obviously everybody's been driven to stop him. But there's, I forget how many out of 15, I think 11 out of 15 games he's averaged under 4 yards a carry.
Yeah. And there have been a few games where he hasn't done much statistically at all.
Yeah, I get everybody's trying to stop him. It's just, that number is very surprising
I just feel like if we put up his season numbers, I just feel like it's totally offset by his production in the receiving game, where, as far as production, one player in the league has had more yards than him. 2 players in the league have had more touchdowns than him. Like, so I agree on a carry-by-carry basis, he has not been as dynamic. I also wonder, would he have a little more burst in the run game if his usage in the receiving game wasn't the same as Amon-Ra St. Brown's damn near? Like that, so I just don't know how else we assign the 49ers having the season they've had when we can't give it to one of the quarterbacks, because they've had 2 different quarterbacks for basically half the season.
What if the Broncos are the number 1 seed?
So I can assign that easily. They have the best defense in the NFL.
But no MVP candidates?
No, because I think the defense has been a collective. And I guess you could say the same thing about the Niners offense, but the Niners offense, the only constant has been him.
Yeah.
And so but I mean, I'm not saying he should win the award, to be clear.
But just on the
but I have no complaints at all. Trevor Lawrence just was on somebody's MVP ballot, and it wasn't my own.
He's got 10 touchdowns the last 2 games.
Yeah. And they've beaten really good teams.
That's the thing.
They beat
their
Denver
schedule.
in Denver.
Yeah.
And
It was right
put it
on
on.
34
home win
points.
streak.
They crushed the Chargers, or did.
Yeah,
or
they beat them
did-
Chargers 35-6. Brou, do you think? I wonder if Drake ends up catching Stafford.
I mean, again, how many?
I don't think it will.
No one cares about the counting stats. The Rams throw the ball when other teams run the ball. Like goal line.
They got a decent running. Oh,
I know, but goal line,
yeah.
like Devontae feasts on those. That no look to Pook. And obviously they count, but
So listen,
and he does. And
I feel like
this is a little
Stafford's
rich
way out
coming
in
from
front.
the Jalen Hurts tush push touchdowns.
I know.
Are all the same
No.
guy, but I do understand what you're saying. I don't think that's what will change it though. I think some voters, if the Rams, no matter if the Rams and Pats could have identical records, and the Rams are the 5 seed and the Pats are the 1 seed, and they'll vote
then
for
we
May.
should get it. Yeah.
But even if they're both 13-4,
Well, for
But
the
I
1
think
seed, yeah,
some
we should get it.
people look at the 2 wins against winning teams, right?
Pro Bowl announced today. 4 teams had 6 players: Broncos, 49ers, Seahawks, and the Ravens.
6 players.
Yep.
The Ravens.
AFC quarterbacks, Drew. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Drake Maye. NFC quarterbacks, Darnold, Dak, and Stafford. Shout out to Darnold. Deserves a spot higher on the mountain. Pro Bowl QB. Any issue with this list?
So the 2 things, just very quickly. First one is this. I wish Football Reference and other places would designate Pro Bowls by were you named to the Pro Bowl or were you an alternate?
Yes.
So like you just said, Drake Maye's not a first-time Pro Bowler because he was like an 8th
forgot about
alternate
it.
last year. Like, because this list to me does still matter. Like, were you the
Right.
initial
I
Pro
agree.
Bowl list, but then the alternates, it gets all screwed up. My only real issue is I think Trevor Lawrence should be there over Justin Herbert. I think that their years are, if we show you their years, we can show you it's Trevor's got him in touchdowns. Herbert has him in rating. Herbert has him slightly in yards. Trevor's been his offense has been more prolific. But it certainly matters for this competition how you're finishing. And Trevor, since they played each other, what's up, KW? What's your problem?
Isn't it weird that, I just thought it was odd that this is out already as well.
Oh,
This-
yeah,
this hit me
there's
as a
2
shock.
weeks left, yeah.
Like, oh, these numbers could
And then
move
since they
significantly.
played each other, the down the stretch run, Trevor's been playing great. Herbert's team's been winning, but prior to last week, he was in the midst of his worst stretch of football. And so, I think I would put Trevor over Herbert.
Yeah, so I had a graphic very similar to Nick's and thinking the same thing when you look at him.
Really?
Yeah, I was gonna.
What a day for the Prince!
Which is crazy,
Yeah.
but when you look at them side to side, they're very comparable, and you got to give Trevor a lot of credit for the way that he's kind of dug out of the hole. Now it's a hole of his own making,
Right.
but he's dug out of it where Herbert has had all the love from Jim Harbaugh. I mean, you couldn't get a bigger fan than Jim Harbaugh, and all that promotion where, with Trevor, everybody expects him to fail, and the fact that he's succeeding, I think, is surprising most.
Yeah, look, I like Herbert, but like if I had to pick one quarterback to start a team with, I would take Herbert over Trevor. But obviously, I had Trevor on my ballot, so I'm fine with that. I looked at the NFC, and sorry, Wilds, I know he's your guy, but I think Darnold's 13 interceptions. That is only Tua and Geno have thrown more. And he's only got 24 touchdowns, which is okay, but that's not like Baker last year, 41 and 16. Yeah. And I just think, look, I like J-Lo, but I'm looking at Goff. And if you put Dak on there, you're not punishing guys because they didn't make the playoffs.
Record. That's right.
So I'm like, Goff's numbers are great.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot good supporting cast. Dak doesn't with the receivers. So I just think numbers-wise, Goff's got him beat in everything. Everything.
That's fair.
And they won more games. And he didn't have as good of receivers.
Goff?
Yeah.
Cleveland Browns, their record is 3-12. Myles Garrett's pursuit of the sack record, excellent. He's credited with half a sack last week and now is just 1 sack away from breaking the record. 2 games to play. A reporter asked him about his offseason trade request. Remember that? He wrote a nice letter. And his stated desire to compete for a Super Bowl. I thought that was a fair question, Brou. And you, from your journalism background, I wanted your reaction to that.
Well, it's definitely a fair question. And I'm glad Myles had like a smirk. I don't think no comment's the best or next question, whatever, is the best answer. But he had like a smirk. So bottom line is I feel you can do both. If I'm a player, particularly a star player, yes, I want to win a Super Bowl. But I also play for individual accolades. So I don't think there's like, from the question, the implication is you're a hypocrite. Like you talked all this stuff, you don't care about these things and you just want to win and then you stayed. First of all, everybody would have taken that contract, the money he was offered. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I still think he wants to win, but I also do. If I'm that caliber, it's one thing if I'm a role player and I don't put up big numbers, so I'm just trying to win. That's it. But if I'm like that caliber of player, you darn right, I'm trying to get all pro. I'm trying to be defensive player of the year. I'm trying to make the Hall of Fame, all that. So I don't think it's a big contradiction.
And when you look at the way the question was phrased, it was obvious it was trying to bait him to say something. And it was, and I have a lot of experience with that group. Like they can do that in that room. And to his point about winning, you can't say Cleveland doesn't try to win. So they went to the playoffs in 2020. They went to the playoffs in 2023. They won 11 games both of those years. They tried to make a huge move with Deshaun Watson. That backfired, but that's still an indication that winning is very important, that they would make a move like that, extend themselves like that. So for him to say that he wants to win and go back to Cleveland, it's about the money. Obviously, things are about the money, but he has a chance to win there, and they've shown the desire.
Does he really have a chance to win there?
Well, look,
if they get a quarterback,
they were in the playoffs 2 out of the last 5 years, which the Jets haven't been in the playoffs in what, 37 years.
They were one and done in the playoffs. Flacco was the quarterback 1 year.
Well, Baker was the quarterback.
Yeah, they won a playoff.
Oh, they won with Baker.
And they did make the Deshaun Watson move. It wasn't the right move, but that's a gigantic move to make in an attempt to win a Super Bowl. And he should say at this point, yeah, we're 3-12. Is this record important to me? It is important to me because I have something to do. I have a chance to do something nobody else has done. And I don't think anybody in Cleveland or the organization is going to be mad at him for saying that.
I think that would be a good response. I've been radicalized by the Browns-Patriots game where Myles Garrett wrecked the game. He was unstoppable. He had 5 sacks and destroyed the game. The Patriots won 32-13. And as he goes for this sack record and he's on the MVP ballot, I've been the one saying, they've got 3 wins. This great player is not contributing to winning. And maybe he is, but he's having the greatest sack record maybe ever, and they're stuck at 3 wins. He had 4 sacks against the Ravens. They lost 23-16. He had 1.5 sacks against the Bears, which is really good. They lost 31-3.
Oh, go ahead.
So there is a point where, and maybe it's selfish, and maybe it's just like I want him to be traded to the Patriots. But I do, to be honest with you. it reminded me of Ohtani and Trout. They were on the Angels, and one guy said, you know what? I'm going to leave. And the other great guy always stayed, and we didn't see him play any meaningful baseball, and it's going to be over. So I'll throw this to you, and then I'll let you go. This is Super Bowl appearances by players with multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards, which we expect him to get it, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Smith has got 4, Mean Joe Green, Lawrence Taylor. We have legendary moments of seeing these guys. Reggie White, it's a similar one, Eagles to Packers, of holding trophies. Ray Lewis, Aaron Donald making a huge play in the Super Bowl. I don't want this to come off as being a Myles Garrett hater or critic. I just want to see the best players in the sport play.
He got screwed by who he was drafted by in that regard. And this is where I will defend him for taking the contract.
Go.
He was not a free agent. He asked for a trade. They said no, and you have 2 years left on your deal. And it's the NFL, which means when you're 2 years from free agency, you're 4 years from free agency. Right. So his option, if the argument is he shouldn't have signed the rookie extension in Cleveland, I guess. But to Coach's point, they were coming off good. They had drafted Baker. They were a competitive team. He signs the extension. He's then a few years into the extension. It's like, this sucks and we're awful. And the Deshaun Watson thing didn't work. I want to leave. They said no. And so then he can really make it messy and still maybe, it has no leverage. He has 2 years left on a deal that he can't even, again, the franchise tag is such an ominous thing that even if he plays it out, they just franchise tag him, it'd be a bargain. Right. He's the best player in the league on defense. So then he's like, okay, I guess the best available option here is to sign a contract, which, by the way, he can demand a trade again, which is, I think, what you would like him to do.
Would be interesting.
But my issue with your bringing up, he had 5 sacks, they lost by this much, and this, I think that is just evidence that every position in the NFL, except for quarterback, and even quarterback to some degree, there is only so much any singular position can contribute to winning. And I don't think you can have a better season as a pass rusher than Myles Garrett is having. And that, though, it's not basketball, and it's not even baseball with a starting pitcher for that day. That there is nothing more he can do than what he's done.
I agree.
And you've got a great amount of curve because so many of those games, they're behind.
Yeah.
So the amount of passes and attempts that he has to sack the passer had decreased.
No, that's a real stat, Coach.
So there's that. But the other thing is you never hear people talking about him not playing the run and only worrying about stats. And that can happen too. When a guy's chasing a record, he only does that thing. Then people run at him and they gash him, because that's what he's doing. You haven't really heard people comment that's the way he's been playing it through the late part of the season.
In this letter, the goal is never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It's always been to compete for and win a Super Bowl. I just want to see that happen.
I understand.
And I don't think it's going to happen in Cleveland.
But I guess oddly, KW, I think your real gripe here, this is not good TV, is with the existence of the franchise tag. I think because the franchise tag exists, every great player is so deeply incentivized to re-up with the team that drafts them because they know if I'm a first-round pick and I have to play for 7 years with this team before I can actually get out of here. And so I just, that then led to all of this.
There's something to say for the loyalty of the Joe Thomas angle. I get it, and being a hero, and I get that. But just to watch a truly generational player celebrate a sack record as they go to 3-13 on Sunday, I find it strange.
But to Coach's point, that's not every year.
And they've gone to the playoffs more than the Patriots have in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, they've
gone to the Patriots.
I'm not saying that.
He's been to the Patriots the
truth.
same amount as Joe Burrow since Joe Burrow's been in the league. That's true, too.
Been to the playoffs.
Yeah, they both been in the playoffs twice since Joe's been in the league.
Making the playoffs and getting beat by the Texans and going to the Super Bowl is different.
Well, no,
but if he was playing for the Steelers and it's one in the playoffs and out,
I mean, yeah, like T.J. Watt,
he should be traded too, I guess.
I don't. We saw if Stafford wins the Super Bowl, he was in Detroit. Said, you know what, this does not work.
Well,
he got out of there, but he got out, and now his career is on a
and
totally
Shohei had the contract. He was a free agent.
But we're going to see Mike Trout
I should have went to Toronto.
All right, moving on. DK Metcalf is appealing a 2-game suspension for this interaction with the fan. Nick, your response to this incident?
First of all, I want to clear something up because people are like, oh my God, he had $45 million in guarantees voided. Here's the deal on that. $25 million of that is his salary next year. The Steelers are paying that. Like they're not interested in cutting DK Metcalf. So that money is, so now the other guarantee got voided is a money that was only guaranteed for injury and is for 2027. So the only way the void comes into play is if next year, because that's not true guaranteed money. It was money that was only guaranteed if next year he suffers a catastrophic injury. So that's a real potential thing, but it's, everyone hopes that if he stays healthy, then he costs himself no guaranteed money. That's first of all. Second of all is this, and this, everyone might disagree with me here, and I'm not saying it applies to that guy in the blue wig. I happen to believe that something when Brou talks about, the good old days, something we have lost in society is a healthy fear. That guy might punch me in the face. And I think the way sports fans often act at games shows what the total removal of that fear can bring about, which is adults acting in ways they would never act in any other circumstance because there's like an invisible barrier. It's like, I know you can't do anything to me. And again, I don't think you should ever be able to stab someone, shoot someone, kick them in the head when they're down. But there are certain things where if you're like, hey, what happened? And you tell me what happened, it's like, and I punch the guy, I'd be like, I'm kind of on your side.
Certainly
I get
getting mushed in the face.
Yeah, something like that. So I want to say, I am not someone that believes like sticks and stones will break my bones, words will never harm me. I don't believe that actually. And I think we've erred too far in that regard. But I have watched the video of what this guy said and did. And I know what Chad Ochocinco reported. The video doesn't support it. If it's true that this guy was using slurs and talking about DK's mother, then I would support DK, even though I think the league's got to suspend him because you have to set the precedent. But I'd be like, I'm on your side. The video with audio that I've watched makes it seem like DK Metcalf was pissed and overreacted drastically to a guy poking fun at him, which again is not a way I think an adult should act in any environment, even a sporting event. But and I haven't heard DK accuse the guy of using any slurs, but it was like secondhand game of telephone. From what I've seen, I think DK deserved to be suspended because I think that he went over there, the guy called him his decalin, and he was pissed and grabbed him and mush-faced him, and the NFL is going to make it very clear you can't hit the customers. And so that's
I mean, if he was saying racial stuff, talking about his family, that's one thing. You know, but they even reported at the game, or as it was happening, that the guy had just called him by his full name.
Yes.
And it looks as bad as it looked on the, one angle, but from that angle, it really looks violent. Like he really grabbed it. And so I do think there's a limit to what fans can say, like I said, racial stuff, family stuff, and all that. But I don't have a problem with heckling and things like, I've been obviously covered the NBA and you hear all types of heckling. I'm fine with regular stuff like that. And I think you have to, I was surprised it was 2 games, but I think you do have to send a message in this situation. And that's what they did by suspending him. 1, you send a message to the fans that they're safe and we care about you because the fans pay the bills. And 2, you send a message to the players. You can't touch a fan. You can't do this. So I think that's what they did with the suspension.
Look, everybody knows you can't touch fans, and regardless of what they say, they say terrible things. They say, and if you let it bother you, then you're probably going to be bothered at every single stadium that you go to. And the idea that adults go to these games and they feel like it's almost as if the players and coaches have been dehumanized and you can just yell whatever you want at them. But as a player and a coach, you can't go over and engage that fan. You just can't. It comes with the territory. You may be able to tell security, but at the end of the day, he's going to lose in every possible way. He's going to lose financially. He's going to be suspended time. It's just going to, he'll probably get sued. It's just going to keep building up for that 1 or 2 seconds of satisfaction that just kind of comes with the business, unfortunately.
I look at these things sometimes through an organizational lens as well. From Brooke Pryor, Metcalf, who played for the Seahawks before being traded, obviously, reported the man to Seattle team security in the past. So
That same person?
yes.
Oh.
So to me, this feels like at least something that should have been flagged for Steelers security. Like, I don't know what is that DK's responsibility to be like, hey, we're headed to Detroit. I've had an issue with that. Is that the security within the league?
But with
obviously, I'm not saying he should do it, but no. I hope the Steelers security wasn't like, oh, you had an issue with this guy in the past.
But with that said, they didn't kick the fan out of the game. And again, I'm doing it from cell phone video. The people around did not react as if this fan said something. Like everyone's reaction was not shocked by what the fan did. So
how often has he played that he recognizes this one fan?
Yeah. So
that's why.
That's amazing.
That's why I think it's. I don't know. If I've already reported you, I'm not saying it's necessarily anything out of bounds, and there's a lot of, we don't have all of the facts. But the fact is, from Brooke Pryor, he has reported this guy, maybe not for anything racial, but maybe just for general harassment while he's on the field, if that exists.
thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.